Okay, lesson 2 of chapter 3. We're talking all about slope. And I alluded to this in 3.1 where we were talking about rate of change. And I said whenever you go to graphing lines, you need to know about slope. Well, that day is today. So first of all, I want to start out a couple things. I'm going to do a couple on here, and then I'm going to switch over to a graph and explain more about that. But this part right here, slope being rise over run, I want that in your notes now. That is so important. Slope is rise over run, and that's what that is. It talks about rise, there in blue, being the vertical change between any 2 points. So if I have something, very crude drawing right here, but let's say I have this point, and I have this point right here. All right, so rise over run. Run is your horizontal change. So remember, rise, as we're talking about this, rise is your y-axis, so it's your y-coordinate. Run is your horizontal change, so that is your x. That looks a little close together here. Let me try that part again. And that eraser is huge. All right, let's try this. That way it looks a little more believable. And let's put our point back up here. Maybe. There we go. All right, so we're talking about our rise over run. So if I'm talking about the change from this point to this point, and I can even draw a line through that if I wish. All right? Now, whenever you graph, you're going to be using rulers, and whenever I do it later on here, I'll be using a drawing tool, but that's just to get a little perspective. So if my change in y, how much did it change from this point to this point? So how many would I be going down to get to here? So from this point, I would go down 1, 2, 3. And I went down, so that is a negative change. I went down. And then if I go over to that point, I will be going up on the x-coordinate, so that is a positive change of 1, 2. So it's negative 3 over 2. Negative 3 over 2. I do not have to change that, and I should not change that to a mixed number because slope needs to be rise over run. So let's talk about this just for a minute, and then we'll get to a graph. All right, so if they're talking about find the slope of the treadmill, if we are talking about rise over run, remember rise has to come first. And if you have trouble remembering which one comes first, rise over run, here's what I'm going to tell you. You need to rise out of bed before you can run out the door. Oh yeah, that's silly. I'll remember that. It's true. So rise over run. Rise over run. So rise is associated with the y. Run is associated with the x. So it's y over x. So in this one right here, what is the vertical change? Well, the vertical change from right here at the end of the treadmill up here is only 10 inches. So vertical change is 10. Horizontal change, 48. Rise over run. Should and always should be simplified. Divide by 2. 5 over 24. Can't divide up by anything else. So that's what we've got here, 5 over 24. Okay, let's try the got it. The hiking trail rises 6 feet for every horizontal change of 100 feet. So it rises 6. So the horizontal change is 6 and it rises. That is a positive number. What is the slope of the hiking trail if the horizontal change is 100? So it's going to go over 100 feet. And again, going up on the x, that is positive. 100. 100. So I've got 6 over 100. So if I reduce that both by 2, 3 over 50 is my slope. 3 over 50. All right, let's change to a graph maybe, and I can explain a little bit more about what I want you to know about slope. There we go. All right, first of all, slope, rise over run. So slope, change in y over the change in x. So let's just give two arbitrary points. Let's say this one and this one. And if I want to know the slope, and most often that will be a line, okay? So if I want to know a slope between those two, then I have to know what is the horizontal change and what is the vertical, what is the vertical change, what is the horizontal change. So to get from this point to this point, and I always read a line, always read it left to right. So I'm going left to right. Now, notice that this is down, right? So if a line is slanting down, that should tell me right there that it is going to have a negative slope. Negative slope. And let's see how the numbers line out with this. So I'm going to go down 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So if I go down 6, my y over x, if I go down 6, that is negative, over, and I'm going to run 1, 2, 3, 4. And I went bigger on the x, so that is positive. So my slope, negative 3 over 2. And again, fits with the picture because it is slanting down. All right, let's try another one. Let's clear this stuff off of here. And I did not want to do that. How about we just take the line off? Let's see if I can do that from here. Maybe. There we go. All right. So if I want to now make another line, let's say we want this one to go from here. Oh, and let's not make it very steep. Let's make it kind of flat. So we want that line right there. All right. So if I am going to connect those, all right, there's my line. There's my line. And if I want to find out the slope of this line, it's the change in y over the change in x. So from this point to this point, how much did it change? Well, it's going to go up, right? So if this line slants up, that right there should tell you you will end up with a positive slope. Let's see. We're going to go up 2 units. Up 1, 2. How many are you going to run over? Well, starting from here, I'm going to run, starting from here, I'm going to run 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 to get to that point. 2 over 9, that is my slope. And again, it is positive, and if it fits with the picture, it's going to go up and over. All right, let's put a couple random points up here. Let's say 2, 6. Let's maybe do a negative 3, 4. Now, we know that slope is rise over run. There is a slope formula, which they give you in the text. There is a slope formula. Here is the slope formula, and again, this is something that you should be writing down. Slope formula. So it is y2 minus y1 over x2 minus x1. What? What is that? That looks like some crazy foreign language there. Well, it's math, so to some of you it is a foreign language. But let's talk about it here. We've got y2 minus y1, x2 minus x1. So if this is our first point, here's our second point. Doesn't really matter. That's just the order that I wrote them in. Let's do the y2 minus y1. So here's y1. This is just my first point. This is my second point. So if I want y2, it's just talking about the second y. So I'm doing 4 minus the first y, which is 6, over, now it says x2 minus x1. So I'm taking the second x, negative 3, minus the first x, 2. Now, here's where your integer knowledge comes into play. I've got 4 minus 6, so that is negative 2. And I've got negative 3 minus 2. That is not negative 1. Remember that a minus is add the opposite. So it's a negative 3 plus negative 2, which is negative 5. Now, this, we've got a negative divided by a negative. You should go ahead and simplify that. 2 negatives, divide them, you would get a positive. Now, that's saying that my slope is a positive 2/5. Let's try plotting the points here and seeing what we've got. So we've got 2, 6 right here. And our other point is negative 3, 4. So to get from this point to this point, I'm saying that I should go up 2 and over 5. I should rise 1, 2, and run 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And that is true. You can always use the slope formula to get your answer. And if you wish to get some graph paper and check it, would probably be a wise idea. Let's just try one more. Let's try 0, 4. And then let's try, I don't know, 2, negative 2. So this is my first point. This is my second point. Remember slope formula, y2 minus y1 over x2 minus x1. So y2 minus y1. So I've got my second y, negative 2, minus my first y, which is 4, over my second x, which is 2, minus my first one, which is 0. So I've got negative 2 minus 4. Remember, minus is plus a negative. So negative 2 plus a negative 4 is negative 6 over 2, which leads me to have negative divided by a positive would be negative, and that would be a negative 3, or I could put it 3 over 1, just reduce them both by 2. So let's plot my points. I've got 0, 4 right here. I've got 2, negative 2, 2, negative 2 right here. So this is saying that I should go down 3 over 1. So down 1, 2, 3 over 1. Down 1, 2, 3 over 1. So you don't have to stop at just the first one. Slope keeps going. And that's how you would get a line that looks something like this. That would go through all of those points. Okay? That is slope. And it worked. So from this point to this point, it went down 3 over 1, down 3 over 1. You may have to do it more than once, but that's okay. All right, so that is my part on slope, on this part at least. So let's get back to the lesson, and let's see what we've got here. We spent most of our time on that, which is okay, because that's really what I wanted you to do. So I'm going to skip through some of these. These have the same points, 3, 6, 2, 4. You should be able to give your slope on that. So you may want to try that. Pause it and try it. I'm moving on to some other ones down here. So this, we've just found slope of each line. You can pause it and try those. Go ahead and pause that, try those. All right, back with me. You should have, for A, you should have that the slope is 3/4. Sorry, not A, it's B. 3/4. And C, you should have 1/4. So hopefully those worked out for you. And you use the slope formula, y2 minus y1 over x2 minus x1. There we go. y2 minus y1 over x2 minus x1. So it would be, you could use any of the points in this graph and it wouldn't matter. So you could even use this one and this one. So this would be your first point, this would be your second point, and that would work from there. Okay, so talking about this next part here, that's talking about the slope formula, which I've already introduced you to. There's your y2 minus y1, x2 minus x1. All right, so if we have one that looks like this, example 4, you find the slope of the line that passes through, you should be able to subtract it and try it. So I'm going to give you the answers for D and F. The answers for D and F. Here you go. Hopefully I want you to pause this, try this, and hopefully once you get the hang of slope, you should be fine. But for D, the slope is 1/3. And for E, the slope is 1/2. So I'm going to leave you with those. Remember X, if you want to think of it as X1, Y1, X2, Y2, you should be able to subtract, and hopefully we've got that out there. So, as always, come with me, come to me. You can come with me to my desk, wherever we may go. Ask some questions. Good luck.